And we are back, ladies and gentlemen, with just 2 weeks to go until the launch of EAFC. It is that time of year once again where I get to pick my Hall of Fame team for FUT 2023 and also my final ever Hall of Fame team on FIFA before, of course, we do change away from the FIFA brand to just EA Sports FC. Now, this does not mean I'm going to pick my best team for this year, because obviously that'll just be the team with all of the new 99 rated FUT cards and that in it. These are a collection of my favourite players over the course of the entire year, and they will be joining a long list of Hall of Fame players from across the years. Like I say, I do this every single year. Before we get into it, let me know down in the comments all of your favourite players from across this iteration of FIFA. And let's get straight into the squad. As you can see, we are playing a 4-2-3-1 wide formation. That has probably been my most used formation this year. Not a formation I've ever actually used before. I'm normally a 4-3-3 second variation or a 3-5-2 person, but the way the meta has developed over the course of this year, this is the formation that I have found out to be the best in-game. I've never actually started with this formation, so you will see a lot of players starting out a position, but that is because they'll be in the positions that they have played for me over the course of this year. And we will start with the two players that I always start with, and that is my Silver Star of the year and what I like to call my OG of the year. So Davor Suker is my OG. He was the first real striker I used this year. For those of you who don't know, I did open a lot of packs to start off this year's FIFA, and a lot of that fodder ended up going into the first Icon SBC of the year, and that SBC got me this base Davor Suker, and you know what? He turned out to be absolutely phenomenal. His goal scoring record, whether or not that was playing up front, playing off the front, his link-up play, his passing, his free kicks in particular were phenomenal. So he gets the OG striker spot, or just the OG player spot for this year. And next to him, we have gone for Haji Wright, who is just by far the best silver card I think we've ever seen. Yes, his stats don't really reflect how good he was. That's basically because the majority, if not all of his games, or not clearly not all of them, but the majority of his games were in the Silver Cup. And because the Silver Cup is under max chemistry conditions, the goals and assists in that game mode don't track. So even though he played 78 games, even though it says he scored 16 goals, it was more like 160, if not pushing 200. This was genuinely the best silver card I've ever used in my FIFA career, and I'm so pleased to include him in the Hall of Fame. Moving on to the goalkeeper spot. I don't really think there was a standout goalkeeper this year. I know people dropped and changed about different goalkeepers all year long. I think a lot of people are probably going to put Donnarumma as their main goalkeeper for this year, but every single iteration of him I've used outside of the 99 rated version really didn't do as well as they have in previous years. So for me, my top goalkeeper for this year is going to be this man, Petr Cech, but the 90 rated World Cup version that was an SBC. Once he got into my team, he stayed in there for a very long while. 277 games for him in a team that was changing a lot around him, but he was the most consistent goalkeeper I used this year. And like I said, in a year where I think goalkeepers in general were just a bit awful, but he is the man that will make it in to the goalkeeper spot. Now it is time to move on to the defenders, and this is where things are going to start to get lengthy. So as you can see, I've actually inputted all of the defenders at once, just so I can do a brief chat about all of them. We'll start off with the right back, which I've gone for Denzel Dumfries. He really defined this position for me this year. I think it was really important to have big physical fullbacks. I think, especially on new gen, like I say, where lengthy was so important. I think where people tried to use the little dribblers that were skillful, having someone like Denzel Dumfries, who was just massive in game and lengthy as well, people just couldn't get past him. And that's precisely why this man is the backup right back as well. The Showdown Thomas Meunier, a 30k SBC for a card that was basically guaranteed an upgrade. He did some really good jobs for me, as did his rule breaker. His rule breaker played a lot more games in the 53 that this Showdown did. But between him and Dumfries, obviously Dumfries playing a lot more, I do now have the Futties Dumfries, but what I tend to do is put in the card that actually earned the spot in the Hall of Fame, not necessarily the best version of the card, because this is the card that I will remember. And honestly, these two at right back were absolutely phenomenal. Equally at left back, we have Robin Gosens. This man played so many games for me, 457 games for me at left back. Honestly, I have to say this. I think this is the best objective card we have ever had in terms of longevity, in terms of consistency. Left backs in general all year long were just few and far between, and you could just put this guy into a team. There were so many good Serie A options. He was Inter Milan and German, so Great for hybriding as well. And like I say, 6 foot, lengthy on an anchor. So consistent and well deserving of the left back spot. It only took until I packed this Capdevila card to finally replace him. And what a card Capdevila is. I'm sure he'll be a lot of people's choice as the top left back for this year. But like I say, I got him fairly late on. Gosens was my left back for a solid 4 or 5 months until I packed this Capdevila. When I packed it, it was 800k. So best believe it went straight into my team. And honestly, even now, I couldn't say he was that much better than Gosens in game, and that is why Gosens still keeps the spot in the main team. But both of these left backs, absolutely phenomenal and fully deserving of their spots in the team. As for the centre backs, there's really no debate over the two that get into the team. Firstly, the base Lucio that I bought on day one. As I already said, I opened 1,000 packs to start off this FIFA, and this is where the 700k went on Lucio. Now, basically, up until the very end of FIFA, he held this price at 700k, like right through up until, you're talking the end of April, start of May. This card was still around the 700k mark. That's just how good this card is. And as you can see, he's played over 1,000 games for me this year. He is by far and away the best centre-back that I have used this year. And yeah, absolutely phenomenal player. Next to him, I've gone for Sergio Ramos, probably the best SBC card this year in terms of, again, consistency and performances on the pitch. He was in so many people's teams for so long. And, I mean, what can you say? It's a Sergio Ramos card. You know what you're going to get. Brilliant card. And then on the bench, a few slightly different options. Firstly, Tilo Kehrer. Again, sort of one of my OG players. Yes, it was a World Cup card, so it did come out fairly late on in terms of the game cycle, in terms of there were a lot better cards originally. But you just look at the stats on this card and you can see why he was so good for me. 6'1", 84 pace, 85 defending, 87 physical, 5-star weak foot. What more can you want? So consistent across all the back line. I've played him at right back, left back, both centre-back positions, and in a 3-back. Really consistent. And then finally, Nathan Ake, who is currently placed at left back because essentially that was the job that he did. Towards the end of the year, I sort of transitioned a lot more into playing 3-backs. I know we all sort of started playing that 3-4-2-1 formation, but what I did was I played Ake as a left centre-back in a back 3, and then if I did transition into a back 4, I would then play Nathan Ake as the actual left back, which is why he is positioned as a left back at the moment, because I would still start in a back 4, then move in to a back 3. But this card is absolutely phenomenal. So good, like I say, at left centre-back or left back, lengthy as well, just everything you want in a centre-back or a left back card. And again, fully deserving of his place in my Hall of Fame. As we move on to the midfield, then you will now start to see players in a little bit more bizarre positions because, like I say, this is where I actually ended up playing them in-game. And no one encapsulates that more than this Achraf Hakimi card, who I played at right mid when I played 4-2-3-1. I played him at right wing when I played 4-3-3, and I played him at right mid when I played 3-5-2. The reason for this is when I packed this guy, because this is a first owner pack pulled Hakimi. Team of the year! Out and out! Hakimi! When I got him, I looked at his stats and I just thought, if I give this guy a finisher, he goes to 96 finishing and his dribbling stats just go absolutely through the roof. He's already got 99 pace. And like I say, his physical stats are incredible as it is. His passing stats are as incredible as it is. 96 crossing as well. To me, he just felt wasted in every other position other than an attack-minded position. And genuinely, for 3 or 4 months after I packed this card, I genuinely think he was the best right winger on the game. The stats speak for itself. Obviously, as the game progressed and more better right wingers came into it, he has now made the move back to right back for me. But those stats were about 144 goals and 88 assists, roughly in about 200 games. There was a long stretch where he had more than a goal a game contribution. It's only now that he's been moved back to right back that those stats have fallen away. But genuinely, he was so fun to use. And if a card like this comes up again this year, best believe I'm going to do that again because it's so hard to find such consistent attackers, I feel, on this game. And when you give someone those sort of physical stats and all you need to do is boost that shooting to the level it needs to be a good forward, like I say, no one encapsulates a position change as well as this Hakimi did. And that is why he will be right mid for this year. Same goes for Ji-sung Park, a card that can't play centre mid or CDM, but again, just played that position so well. He was my box-to-box midfielder for the vast majority of the year. As again, you can see 494 appearances on this World Cup card. He just played box to box, in and out, missed the consistency, ran around like an absolute headless chicken, played centre mid in 4-3-3, played left centre mid but box to box style in the 4-2-3-1, and was genuinely my most fun box to box midfielder this year. Paulinho, hands down the best CDM this year. Unfortunately, I did submit the World Cup version of this card into an SBC, which is a shame because it is the World Cup card that deserves the spot in the Hall of Fame. But thankfully, he did get a team of the season, which is just as good. It only ended up playing 14 games for me. The World Cup card probably played about 300, 400. Just everything you want from a CDM. Tall, physical, immaculate defending, medium-high work weights, 4-star weak foot. His passing is an absolute joke as well, and just solidified that position so well for me. In terms of the bench for those positions, I've gone for the team of the season, Jude Bellingham, because once this card came into my team, he absolutely owned that position. There's not going to be many end game players in this team, like I say, because they are players that I've just enjoyed over the course of the year, but this Jude Bellingham was too good to be left out of the Hall of Fame team. Whether it was playing CDM, centre mid, I even played him centre back at times. He was just the best player in all of those positions. And Fabian was the man who eventually took over from Jason Park after those near 500 games. Again, really consistent, and also provided me a left-footed player in the left centre mid spot, which I was lacking when it was Jason Park there. As for the left mid, there was no debate over this one. It's John Barnes on an architect, specifically the prime John Barnes, because once he moves on to his FUT birthday, he then no longer can be lengthy. And this card encapsulated lengthy better than any other. He already had 90 pace as it was. With the architect, he became lengthy and got 99 strength. And I'm telling you now, from about October time, or whenever the prime cards came out, October, November time, right through until team of the season came out, this was the best left mid on the game, because there wasn't a right back on the game that can handle him. And I talk about the likes of Dumfries and Meunier and even Hakimi, all the sort of high-end right backs that people were putting in their team. They didn't have the strength to deal with John Barnes. And then once the lengthy was activated, he was gone. They could not stop him. And just look at these assist stats. 120 assists in 164 games. Because all I did with him was get the ball, kick it past the fullback, get to the byline, cut it back, and score tap-ins. One of my favourite ever icon cards. This will go down as possibly my most fun icon card to use, because he was so unique in terms of how I approached the game using him. And sadly for Ivan Perisic, who is his understudy, he just couldn't really quite live up to how good John Barnes was. Perisic was very, very good at the time as well. I could play him either left-hand side or right-hand side, basically trying to emulate John Barnes. I did have him lengthy at times as well. He then ended up transitioning into another box-to-box midfielder of the style of Jason Park as well. And he thoroughly deserves his place in the Hall of Fame as well. It's just, he didn't quite do as well as the likes of Fabian, Bellingham, Park and Barnes, and that is why Perisic is the bottom choice for that. As for the cam spot, it's obviously Alawiran. I could have put Alawiran genuinely. I could have put Alawiran left mid. I could have put him cam. I could have put him right mid. I could have put him striker. This is my player of the season this year. Hands down, the best card in Ultimate Team this year is Sayed Alawiran. Whichever version of him you choose, this was the top card. 815 games for me, 545 goals, 274 assists. Like I say, he played all across the front line wherever he was needed. I just moved him to suit the new players that came into the team because he was just that good. One of those players that came into the team was Joe Cole. At that point in time, he moved into the cam spot. Alawiran went up to striker. And Joe Cole, this card is absolutely phenomenal as well. 101 goals and 71 assists in 184 games. Almost a goal a game contribution from him as well. And like I say, such a fun card. So nimble on the ball. Perfect for that little cam spot where you need an explosive player around your lengthy, pacey players. So integral to how I sort of played in that part of the year, which is why Joe Cole gets his spot on the bench as well. Let's round the team off by talking about the forwards. So here is the completed team. All we have to do is talk about those three remaining forwards. We'll start with the ones on the bench. Firstly, my pack-pulled Eusebio, my most expensive pack pull, I think, ever. Please be something good. It's a birthday Portuguese centre forward. Oh my God! We get birthday Eusebio! And the only reason he's not making it into the main team overall is just because he didn't play enough games. He played in all the positions that Alawiran did. He was the player that finally took Alawiran out of the team. 5-star, 5-star, 94. I mean, it just, look at the card. It's just an absolute joke of a card. so good in game. One of, if not the best icon card I've ever used in game. And over a goal a game contribution, whether again that was playing at striker, cam, left wing, right forward, left forward. I played this guy basically everywhere and he was absolutely phenomenal. And of course, we have to have the team of the season, Harry Kane. I'm sure a lot of people would have team of the season, Harry Kane, in their Hall of Fame teams. The stats speak for itself once again. 126 games, 115 goals, 59 assists as well. This was the lengthy forward in a period where people had sort of drifted away. At the start of the year, there was a lot of people using Haaland. Then the sort of transition into the likes of Mbappe and Alawairans and all the whatnots playing up front. It was only really when Harry Kane came back that lengthy forward sort of became the meta again. And no one again encapsulated that more than Harry Kane. And yeah, he's probably going to be in a lot of people's Hall of Fame teams this year, mine included. However, he will not be getting the main striker spot for me because while everyone else was using Mbappe and Alawairan in their teams up front, I was already using a meta lengthy striker up front, and that man was Future Stars SBC Charles de Ketelaere. What an absolute joke of a card this was. Completely went under the radar. I think almost everyone did the left wing version of this card. I saw this card and went, this is the top guy. Look at the stats. You give him a marksman, it makes him lengthy. It gives him 99 finishing when he's on full chemistry, 99 strength, nearly 99 jumping. Just 5-star weak foot, 4-star skill. He was absolutely unplayable. 133 goals in 128 games with 45 assists. And like I say, up until this Harry Kane came in, I feel like I was the only person still using a lengthy forward. And he just dominated defenses from the moment he came out as a Future Stars card right through up until Team of the Seasons. That was a solid 2 or 3 months where I think de Ketelaere was the best striker on the game. He thoroughly deserves his spot as my main man in the Hall of Fame team for FIFA 23. And that is it. That is the completed squad. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments if you think there is someone that I could have potentially missed out on, or players that you used this year that possibly could have made it into my team based off of the way that you've heard me playing over the course of this year through this video. Thank you very much for watching. We will have one more big FIFA video to round off the year where I will round up my all-time FUT Hall of Fame team before we then start EA Sports FC in a couple of weeks' time. I'll see you then.